In this video, I'll be going over why you should invest in your agency's systems by showing you the massive ROI that even small changes can actually bring, and ultimately how it's going to make you more money in your agency. From my experience with working with B2B service agencies from all over the world, in general, founders tend to focus on the front end side of things, different things like sales, acquisition, ads, content. And this is 100% normal, and I completely agree with it myself. At the start, you need to focus on the front end, so acquisition, getting people in. Because you can have the best product in the world, but if no one dares to actually buy your different services, then what's the point? However, as agencies start to grow, acquisition stops becoming a massive problem because you already know how you can get clients in. What starts becoming a bigger problem is clients leaving, right? You're using the same systems that you used at the very start of your agency and they haven't grown with you, which basically means you have no problem getting clients in, but keeping clients is starting to become more and more of an issue. And you tend to notice that even though you're doing all these efforts on the front end, you're increasing ad spend, you're getting more people in, they just start leaving after 3 months. And at the same time, you're stressed out, your team is stressed out, and your clients don't get the experience that they truly deserve. Every new client isn't a celebration anymore, is more stress for yourself and your different team members. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can actually fix that. Now, before I begin talking about anything in this video, I want to really emphasize that if you're at the start of your agency journey, there's literally no point in stressing out about this if you're still struggling with getting clients. However, if you are at that point where you're an established agency and you consistently have the ability to get clients in, then hopefully in this video, I'll be showing you a small snippet of what your agency could look like in 3 months from now. Now, when we work with clients to build out these different done for you solutions, I like to show people the impact that we actually have. And to do that, we use 4 key metrics. The first one is capacity. The second one is churn. The third one is LTV or lifetime value. And the fourth one is profit. Let's go into and define each of these individually so you can get a better understanding of what exactly I'm talking about. So I'm sure you probably heard of these numbers before, but the reality is that they mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So let's quickly just define these before we can move on to how improving these individual metrics can actually provide some sort of ROI in your agency. The first one is capacity. Now, capacity means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but the way I like to define the capacity, and specifically in use case, the way we will be defining the capacity is the total workload the team can actually handle, measured in terms of the number of clients, projects, or deliverables that you can handle given the available resources. So, for example, if I were to define my capacity, I can say, given the total number of employees, the systems that I currently have, I can take on a maximum of 10 people a month. This right here will be my capacity. Now, I've got a whole videos going over capacity, but that's not the purpose of this video. Just remember, this is what capacity is, just the maximum number of clients that your agency can actually handle at the moment. The second number we're defining is churn. Now, churn is just a number to let you know how many clients you're losing over a given period of time. So the way to actually calculate that, you want to divide the total number of clients that have left during the period over the number of clients at the start of that period and times it by 100 for percentage. So for example, if at the start of 30 days you have 1,000 people and then after 30 days you only have 800 people, that means your churn is 200 over 1,000, which is basically 20%. Now, most important thing about churn, which is very, very important to remember, is that churn is a metric that's defined over a period of time. In most cases, and in this video, we're going to be defining churn on a monthly basis. So how many of your clients are leaving every single month? You can also do this on an annual basis, on a quarterly basis, but in this video, we're going to be using monthly churn. The third metric we need to define is lifetime value. Now, lifetime value, very simply, is just the total amount of money your client pays you over the entire client journey. So let's say someone comes in, they stay in your agency for 3 months, and after 3 months they leave. Then that money they paid you over the 3 months is the lifetime value of that client. There's a couple of ways to calculate it. You could either divide 1 by your churn and then times it by the average retainer. So let's say your retainer is 5K and your churn is 10%, you do 1 divided by 0.1, your churn rate, times by 5,000, which is your monthly retainer, and that gives you a lifetime value. Or if you don't have these kind of individual data, then all you have to do is very simply get the total number of money your agency have made and then divide it by the total number of clients, and that will give you the average amount that each client pays you over their entire life cycle. So that's lifetime value covered. And the last one is profit, and very simply, profit, there's a lot of different ways to define it, but as by Google, is the amount of by which revenue from sales exceeds cost in a business. So if you want net profit, it's revenue taken away from costs divided by revenue, and that gives you your profit. So these are the 4 metrics that we're going to be using, and once again, these are the 4 metrics that we look to improve when we're doing these different done for you builds for different agencies that we actually work with. One very important thing to understand about these four different metrics is that they don't live in isolation. In fact, they're very, very linked. And this is a very important concept to get through your head when you're applying different improvements in your backend systems, because you can't focus on them individually, right? They all work together. If you want to see an improvement in the amount of money your agency actually makes, you need to treat them as one. I'll give you a couple examples of what this actually looks like and how you can easily get this wrong, right? Let's say you focus a lot of time increasing your capacity, but by doing that, you actually ruin the experience your clients actually have. So you go ahead and actually increase your churn rate, which in this case is bad because more clients are leaving. From that, you go ahead and actually decrease your LTV because once again, more clients are leaving. And realistically, because your revenue is going to be going down, you're also going to go ahead and decrease your profit margin. So just by focusing on one individual factor, I've gone ahead and ruined three of the other ones, which in the end actually made me less money. So I'll give you another example. Let's say you go ahead and actually decrease your churn rate, which is a good thing. You're making your clients happier, so they're leaving you less. But the reason you're actually able to do that was because you lowered your retainer, which in reality, depending on how much your churn rate actually decrease, could potentially even decrease your lifetime value, which is the amount of money your clients actually pay you over the entire lifespan. Even though you've decreased your churn rate, because you've decreased your lifetime value, then you've actually made less money, reduced your profit margins, and realistically, I say capacity stays the same. So once again, these are just silly examples, but the key thing I want you to take away from this whole thing is that these four different metrics don't live by themselves. They all work together. So your goal would be to increase your capacity, to decrease your churn rate, to increase your lifetime value, and obviously to increase your profit margins. These are four things that need to happen simultaneously. Or at least if you're not improving them simultaneously, you need to make sure that impacting one of these individual metrics doesn't negatively impact the other. So now that you understand exactly what these individual metrics are and how they are interlinked with each other and the importance of actually making sure that we treat them as a group, let's dive into more specific examples of how even small changes in these metrics can lead to drastic impacts in the amount of money your agency is actually making. And to do that, we're going to be using this Google Sheet that I actually built out. All this basically does is allows us to get a perspective of how small incremental improvements in these metrics can actually lead to more money in your agency. The first thing I want to do is go over our core inputs. So what we are basically currently doing in our agency. And in this case, I'm going to be role playing a couple of different agency styles, but let's start off with this one. I'm going to be going over each single one of these metrics and seeing the impact that it actually has. So I'm going to assume that right now I can bring on 6 clients every single month on average. I'm going to assume I'm starting off with 20 different clients. So at the moment, I already have 20 clients. For the churn rate, I'm going to leave at 25%. The capacity, which is basically the maximum number of clients we can actually take on, I'm going to put that at 25. Our retainer, I'll leave at 1.5K. I think it's a quite average retainer for marketing services. The profit margins, I'll leave at 30%. And then lifetime value and client LTV is automatically calculated. So in this case, because my churn rate is 25%, that means the average client will stay with me for 4 months. And because we're charging 1.5K, that means my average client lifetime value is £6,000. So these are my current inputs. Let's look at what life would look like if this was actually the case. So I've got this quick breakdown here, which basically shows me that if I don't do anything to my backend systems, this is what happens over the space of 24 months. Over 24 months, my active clients peak at 24 because remember, even though I'm bringing on 6 new clients every single month, I'm also losing 25% of my clients every single month. So I'm basically just maintaining, right? I start with 30K and at the end of 2 years, I peak at about 35K with about 10K of profit a month every single month. This, once again, now there are a couple of assumptions we're making here. Firstly, we're assuming that you're literally onboarding 6 clients every single month. So basically ignoring any sort of fluctuations in ad spend, different things like that. And then there's a couple more assumptions we're actually taking in, like for example, constant capacity, constant churn, avoiding different seasonal fluctuations and whatnot. But this is kind of a rough idea of where we are currently at and what will keep on happening if we didn't invest some money into our systems. And for example, even if I were to increase this, let's say I went crazy on acquisition on the front set side of things and I brought in 20 new clients every single month, I'm still going to peak at 37K because the maximum number of clients I can currently handle right now is 25. This is my capacity. And this is very important to actually take on. So let's bring it back to 6. And now let's get an idea of how even small improvements in those 4 different metrics I showed you can actually lead to more money in the agency. So let's say I invest 9K into my backend systems. I improve my churn rate by 20%, which is extremely achievable, guys, especially if it's starting at 25%. I improve my capacity by 20%. which once again is extremely achievable. For my clients, we actually 4x this capacity, so that's a 400x improvement. I increase my profit percentage by 20%, and I increase my retainer by 20% because I'm providing more value to my actual clients. What does this actually look like? Well, first things first, the number of clients I'm bringing on stays the same. I'm still bringing on 6 clients every single month. But also, the number of started clients is the same. I'm still just starting off with 20 clients. But this is where those changes start tickling in. So my churn rate is now 20% because we've had a 20% improvement. So we've managed to decrease that down to 20%. My new capacity is 30 clients. So I can now handle 30 clients in my agency. My new retainer is now 1.8K because I've increased it by 20%, and my new profit margins are now 36%. So what this actually means is that average client stays for 5 months now, and my new client lifetime value is 9K, which is a big improvement from the 6K before. So even just increasing these small factors by 20%, I can begin seeing the impact that it actually has on my agency. And now we can actually see what this looks like in terms of results basis. So these are the baseline results, so what we had before, and these are optimized results. And as you can see, guys, just by improving those things by 20%, all we did was increase capacity by 20%, increase churn rate, or improve churn rate by 20%, increase profit by 20%, and increase our retainers by 20%, we've managed to generate an additional 94,000 every single year and 46K in profit. We can even look at this kind of looks like on a month by month breakdown. So we're going to assume that nothing happens in the first 2 months. Let's say you invested at 9K, you need about 2 months to implement those different changes. But on month 4 is when you start seeing things kind of spiral upwards. Monthly revenue boosts up by 10K straight away, and your monthly profit actually increases by 5K. This is because of different improvements in your lifetime value, your profit margins, so on and so forth. And rather than kind of maintaining or even decreasing different clients, you actually manage to peak over to 29 different clients a month with a total of 52K in monthly recurring revenue. And this is kind of a better breakdown of the number of clients you're actually bringing on every single month, and obviously your monthly profit that you're actually bringing in compared to what would happen. And guys, this is a very moderate example. I mean, once again, all we've done is increase those different metrics by 20%. Imagine I were to say to you, let's increase your conversion rate on your landing page by 20%. It's fairly achievable, especially after 2 months. So straight away, I hope you can begin to see these impact this can actually have. But now let's do another example. Let me show you how this works in bigger agencies. Because at the moment, working with a 30K agency, which, get me wrong, is not small by any chance, but there's a lot of bigger agencies out there. Let's say rather than you getting 6 clients a month, you're now onboarding 20 clients every single month. And let's say rather than starting at 20 clients, you already have 80 clients in your pipeline. I'm going to keep the churn rate the same. I'm going to change the capacity, obviously, to about 90 just to make it a bit more realistic. And I'm just going to go ahead and leave everything else like that. So based on this, I basically max out at 80 clients because even though I'm bringing 20 new clients every single month, I'm losing a quarter of my clients every single month. So I basically maintain myself at 120K, which is about 36K in profit according to my margins. Once again, I'm not going to touch any of this. All right. I'm going to keep the churn rate at 20%. I'm going to keep my capacity at 20%. I'm going to keep the profit improvement by 20%, and I'll keep retainer improvement by 20%, right? But if you go to results, you can see we've now been able to generate an additional 160,000 in annual recurring profit for this agency, which kind of dumps down to 27K a month in profit for the agency just by improving 4 different things by 20%. Hopefully this is as big as an eye-opener as it is for most of our clients when we show them these different statistics and show them how much more bang for their buck they could be getting. Because nothing else changes. We're still onboarding 20 new clients every single month. That ad spend is the same. Our actual team doesn't change. All we're doing is making them a bit more efficient so we can actually increase the capacity. And because of that, we're basically able to generate an additional 56,000 in revenue every single month. And this is very conservative, guys. Realistically, if you have a churn rate of 25%, you can easily bring this down to the low 10s, right? So let's say we have a 50% improvement in churn. And then capacity, let's say we increase capacity by another 40%, which once again is very realistic once you have the right systems in place. After that, profit, I'll keep at 20%. And let's say we're bringing a lot more value to the clients. Now we can charge an additional 40% in actual value. Let's see how this looks now. Now, from starting off at 120K, in the space of 2 years, we're able to increase that to 264,000, which is insane. Every single year, that's an additional 863,000 in revenue, an additional 350K in profit, just by improving these 4 different backend stats. This is the whole point of this video. I wanted to show you the returns that you can actually have from investing in your actual agency. So let's say we invested 9K. At the end of year 1, we'd have a 23x on our money. I mean, you can even increase this, right? Realistically, let's say you invest about 15K, which is a moderate amount for an agency this size. From 15K, in the first year, you have a 13x return on your money. And this is based on the additional profit that you actually have. In the second year, you have a 22x return on the amount of money you're making. This is insane, guys. This is pretty much insane. And I hope this demonstrates the impact that improving your backend systems can actually have on your agency in the long term. Now, obviously, these are just random numbers and they don't really mean anything. Anyone can promise these different things, but what I would recommend is just to give you an idea of what even was possible. Download this Google Sheet and just input your agency's numbers. So you can get an idea of firstly what your current trajectory is, and then secondly, what kind of results you can get if you invest some time and money into your backend systems. Because I mean, even looking at this chart, guys, this is the no-brainer. I should start using this on sales calls a bit more. By the way, guys, if you do want access to that specific chart, all you have to do is check out the first thing in the description, go over to the classroom, go over to YouTube resources, and within the internal platforms, or I guess complete breakdowns, you'll find a Google Sheet that you can just download just like this, make a copy of it and make it your own to actually add in your different statistics. I really hope this video is an eye-opener for you guys. And the cool thing about this, guys, is that this is going to also help your other metrics, right? Even though these are back-end improvements, it's going to also help your front end. Let's say, for example, you managed to decrease your churn rate. Let's say before it was 25% and now you moved on to 10%. Your sales team or your different closers are going to be a lot more motivated to actually close clients because they will genuinely know that you can actually get the results they actually promise. Also, if you decrease your churn rate, your client's going to be happy with their experiences with you. So believe it or not, they're actually going to start referring people for you. So you can see all these different things are linked. If you improve your backend, then it's going to follow on into your acquisition side of things as well, both in terms of close rates, for example, referral rates, upsell rates. It's just so many different things that come into play. And then one thing I want you to remember is that everything is linked. So any improvements that you do here will also reflect on your front end. Another thing that's super interesting to me, at least, and I kind of demonstrated it earlier, but the bigger the agency is, the more impact you can actually have. So don't feel like just because you're a bigger agency, let's say you're at that point where you're doing about 100K a month, 1.2 million a year, somewhere around that range, it doesn't mean it's too late for you to change your fulfillment process and invest a bit of money and time into making it better. Because as you saw in that example I gave you, you can make a lot more money on your back end without having to increase your ad spend and ruining your profit margins, guys. This is also why we prefer to work with larger agencies rather than people that are just starting out. Because as much as I can help someone that's just starting out, first things first, they don't have the process dialed, which makes my life a lot harder. But secondly, I can drive a lot more impact in larger agencies. Even if I improve churn by 10%, for example, that will be a much larger impact in terms of the new revenue this agency having if they're already doing about 200K a month or 100K a month, wherever that is. This is why I prefer working with larger people. And over time, if you look at different clients we've had and the people we've actually helped at Fluxomate, you can see the monthly revenue just keep going higher and higher and higher every single month, to be honest. And that's because we can drive more impact to them, so the sales are also a lot easier to actually make. But anyways, hopefully this gives you an idea of why you should actually invest in the back end of your agency. If you want a copy of that Google Sheet, check out the first thing in the description. It's 100% free. At this point, if you're anything like me, you're probably wondering, okay, this is cool and everything, but how can I actually do this? How can I improve my churn rate by 20%? How can I improve my capacity by 20%? How can I improve my profit margin by 20%? Very good question, and unfortunately that's not what I'm covering in this video. But the good news is, on my channel I've got over 100 different videos going over different ways you can do different things like that in your agency. Like, for example, this video right here, it shows you 9 different ways you can improve your churn rate. This video right here breaks down exactly what capacity is, how you can calculate your current capacity, and how you can also improve it. So scroll through my channel. I'll recommend a couple of videos at the end of this video. Don't finish learning here, because the whole purpose of this video was to give you an eye-opening idea of how important your agency backend actually is and the ROI that can actually produce your agency if you spend a little time and money into improving it and providing your clients with better experiences. Now that you understand that, I mean, hopefully I've done a good job explaining it. You can always check the Google Sheet and find out for yourself. But now is this the point where you figure out how you can actually do that. And for that, I like to point you out to my YouTube channel. It's a great resource. And all of my different videos on my channel go over these different systems that you can implement in your agency to actually produce these small optimizations, which in the long run will have much larger impacts. The truth is about building systems is not a quick fix. It takes some time to actually do. And most importantly, there's not just one thing that's going to solve your issues. It's a collection of a lot of different smaller systems, like, for example, automated onboarding or streamlined onboarding, a streamlined fulfillment process, a streamlined upsell process, team onboarding, different things like that. It's a collection of different systems that all have to work together to actually produce the results. And once again, guys, you saw it yourself. Even small improvements will lead to bigger ROIs for your agency, and ultimately we're making more money. So don't be scared to dive down that road. Hire an ops manager, or just bring someone onto your team that can help you with these backend optimizations, because they can provide a real ROI. All right, guys, enough rambling from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can see more videos like this on your feed, going over different ways you can improve the backend operations in your agency and once again, ultimately make more money. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.